Happy Monday, January 12th. We are back with another Best Bets video. It's been a long time since we've done this. I am sorry. Life has been crazy hectic, so I've been focused on other areas of the business than posting and making the YouTube content, but I want to get more consistent and back into it. So why not start today, Monday, January 12th, with an NBA breakdown for the slate. We got 6 games today in the NBA, and I figured we might as well go through them. We're a little rusty. Anyway, okay. So here we are, into the RudeBets NBA app. For most of you, you've probably never seen this. Anybody who's been watching these videos and the best bet breakdowns is probably very familiar with the MLB tool, or was very familiar with the MLB tool during that season. But we're now on to NBA. So with NBA comes what is, in my opinion, my favorite tool that I've ever built, my NBA model. All of you can get access to this NBA model right now, wop.com/rudebets. Let me show you what that looks like really quick. Here's the WAP server on the right side of the screen. Let me full screen it for you, make it a little bigger. In here are the models, right? So we have the NBA app, NFL app, college basketball, college football, MLB will be in here once that season starts as well. Come join WAP.com/rudebets premium. You want to be in the premium to get this, and you get access to all the different apps right here, and you can use them just like I'm about to do for this video. Then we also have all of my straights. I post all the picks that I take for straights. I post all the parlays I take, my mega lottos. If you guys haven't seen so far, I've been having an insane NBA season. We also have a premium chat. We have a Discord server, too, for those who actually want to be in the Discord. Yeah, you get the point. So come join wop.com/rudebets. You can use code RUDE for 25% off if you've never joined before. If you have joined before and you want to rejoin again, use code 25OFF, 25OFF. Same thing. But we have been crushing it this year in the NBA so far. One thing that you probably actually just missed, let me post it in here. It's in the free plays and promo section. I posted it yesterday. Record so far this year on NBA straights using this model: 76 wins, 52 losses, 5 pushes for a 6.12% ROI just to start the season so far. And that's just on the straight bets. That doesn't even include what we hit the other day, which let me show you all this. This was last week. Bang. We hit a plus 30,000 first basket slip last week. We almost hit another one a couple days later. We went 2 out of 3. And we're going to hit a few more of these this year. All going to be posted in the RudeBets WAP server. So join wop.com/rudebets. Anyways, I built these using the first basket model, which we can just dive into really quickly, actually, before we start anything else, just so I can show you guys how I actually hit this type of a play. I've built out the most comprehensive first basket data you're going to get. I know first basket plays are a super long shot mega lotto, right? Like, these are not your bread makers. You're going to hit insane volatility by taking these types of plays. Some people will tell you they're terrible. I will tell you that we have an edge on them situationally. Definitely you're going to see more than one leg hit all the time, right? So round robining could be a thing if you want, but you're going to probably put a lot of money into first baskets before you actually see some come back your way. That's the problem with them. Luckily for me, I'm now pretty much up on the year with them because I hit a 30,000. So I'm going to keep building on that, but this is how we build it, right? So we have all these tables for first baskets, which are really unique. We have first baskets allowed by position and allowed by method, right? So there's 2 different variations of a first basket. You can just take Michael Porter Jr. here to score the first basket, or you can do by method, which is like Michael Porter Jr. to score a first basket that is a 3-pointer, right? Like, those are just insane. I don't take those, but you could if you wanted. I got all the data here for you. So if you're looking at a matchup, you're saying a team's playing Chicago, you see Chicago, 32% of their first baskets they allow are a layup. Okay, you could also look at Chicago here and see that they allow most of their first baskets to a center, so you could take like the center for a layup, right? Something like that. That's the idea if you wanted to get really crazy. Then we have how teams score their methods, so you can see, like, okay, how often does a certain team score 3-pointers for their first basket? 38%. Or how often, this isn't that helpful, but like, is the shooting guard scoring for Phoenix? That's Devin Booker. Okay, 43% of the time. Got it. And then here we can just look at the players, right? So you can see who has the most first baskets on the year. It's actually Karl-Anthony Towns, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr., all at 7. Let me single screen this for y'all. All at 7. You can see Cat, 42% of his are 3-pointers, and then everything else is just he has one of all the other categories. Markkanen, 85% of his are layups, so he makes a lot of layups for first baskets. So if you're taking a Markkanen first basket, there's a really good shot it's going to be a layup, right? 85%. So those are just types of data points. Or if you just want to see like how many a guy has, you can say, oh, how many does LeBron have? LeBron James has 4 total first baskets this year. Boom, you can see anybody. And then with that, we have our top over projections. So we just like MLB, it's like those leaderboards. You can sort by first basket probability and kind of see general landscape. I personally really only like to take people if they're above like call it like 15% is where I think it's like a good play. When you get down here in the 12s, there's not really that much of an advantage, but 17 is a great number. Great number, right? 20% would be outstanding. So 15% and above is where I really like to lie. That slip I hit was similar. All those guys were like around the 15-20% mark. So that's first baskets. Let's get into the actual breakdown for today, and let's go through these games. Right? Let's go through these games. So what I'm going to focus on for this video specifically, and you're going to see in this model, you can do anything, right? Like there's a lot to this. I'm going to focus only on player points today. So, sorry, hold on. There's a song playing. Okay. So, Jazz Cavs. Boom. Populates right here. You can see I wouldn't focus too much on predicted scores. I think, in my opinion, call me crazy, I think the hardest sport to beat money lines and spreads is the NBA because it is such a volatile, random sport. Like, I mean, you can have the Thunder losing. I think they lost at the beginning of the year to like the Hornets or something. Got blown out by the Hornets, and they're like a 20-point favorite. Like, the NBA is so volatile that spreads, I personally stay far, far away from those because even if a good team's playing a bad team, there is no guarantee like the NFL or even like MLB that you can find any sort of value. Underdogs or favorites in the NBA. It's just not worth it. So player props is really what the NBA is for. That's, in my opinion, it's it. So let's look into this a little bit. We're only going to focus on points for these videos, I think. That's really what I focus on. That screenshot I showed you with my record, 76 and 52, or whatever it was. Pretty much all those are points. Over-unders on points. Main lines. Not alts, just main line over-under on points. So that's kind of where my bread and butter is. Yeah, it's helpful for you to either pull up your app or have your odds screener up when you're doing this. That's how I do it. Yeah, if we have just an odds screener here, pick the odds. It's a free one that I'm using right now. Let me zoom in a little bit here, see if we can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. There we go. So it's a little bit bigger on both sides now. Okay. Hopefully it's more readable. But I just kind of go through it and look, right? So like Ace Bailey, 8.5 points. Ace Bailey, 9.79. I've noticed if I have a 1.5 point to 2 point difference between what I'm projecting on either side, over or under, and what the line is, that's where I jump into a play. That's where I generally jump into a play. These models are extremely advanced. They account for injuries, all these different things, shot volume based on injury, all of it. So Ace Bailey, 9.79 points. His line's 8.5. Getting close to me being interested in taking the over on that. I'm not entirely in love with it, to be honest. I want to see 2 points. We're like 1.3 points above. So a little lower than I'd like to jump in on, but that is kind of an example. Bryce Sensabaugh, 13.82, very similar. His line's 12.5, so not quite sure I'd jump in on that. Cody Williams, 6.5. Cody Williams isn't even making it on the roster right now. Am I stupid? Yeah, Cody Williams isn't being populated right now, so ignore that. It's probably because he's got such a low point line, doesn't play enough. Craig Porter Jr., 6.5 as well, 5.39. Not really interested. Garland, 18.5. One thing I do say is also I don't really focus on point totals above like 14 or 15. Anything above that, I just kind of stay away. Sometimes I'll take unders on those, but in general, I stay away. DeAndre Hunter, 11.5. We have him 11.8. So once again, nothing crazy. Donovan Mitchell, 29.5. I wouldn't even focus on it. It's too high for me. Evan Mobley, 18.5. Ooh, now that's getting close to being an under. That's getting close to being an under. Evan Mobley, he does have a good matchup here, 28th ranked versus position. So this is when you click on the player in the model, you can get a huge breakdown, right? So one thing we can look at, expected field goal attempts. 9.96. So it seems like it's going to be a pretty low-paced game. That's what that tells me. Because his field goal plus free throw attempts on the year is 18.2 average. His expected is 13.5. So there are players back from injury, it tells me, and then also tells me that probably a low-paced game. Rebounds are here. If you want to look at that, you can look at some graphs like his last 5, last 10, things like that. Points, last 5. Mobley's been cooking. There's no denying it. 15, 20, 19, 24. His matchup isn't bad, 13% more points allowed, but I think that the pace of the game would lean me towards potentially him going under that point total. once again, I might hold off on this. It's not a 2 full points under, but it is pretty close, and it's a line that I think I would lean more towards the under on Mobley tonight than the over. But that's how I sort of read these things to them. But you can also look at his PRA, his 3-pointers, right? So you can see his last 5. Okay, he hasn't made it, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0. As always, you can put in the lines, right? So if we want to put in 18.5, the way I model this out, the under, 67% chance that he would go under based on this projection. So 18.5 points. You can see the fair value odds for any of these buckets if you just put in the line that you want. And at the bottom, we do have first basket data too. So if you wanted to really just look at only Evan Mobley, you can see, okay, he's got 6 first baskets and 32 starts. 10% chance that he makes one tonight, which is plus 850 fair value. Hit rate, he has 18.75. Utah, to his position, allows it 21% of the time, and league average is 19, so they're pretty average in terms of how often they allow first basket to power forward. And then his method stats, most of his are in other, so like a hook shot or something. He's got a layup, he's got a dunk, and then the rest are other. So, yeah, let's go back into the game itself. Keep going down the line here of players. Isaiah Collier, 7.5. Got him projected for 9. Once again, it's close to me being interested in taking him over 7.5 points. Not full 2 points there, but it's one that you could, if you're interested in, I think it could be a decent one. Does he have a green matchup? He does. So that does make me feel a little bit better about the play. It's a green matchup, 5% more points allowed. Last 5 games, 8, 10, 6, 7, 17. So this isn't too indicative, obviously, because obviously these are all different matchups than he has tonight. But it gives you kind of an overview of shot volume, in my opinion. Expected field goal attempts. So I like to see him around at least the same number as his point line. So if he has a 7.5 point line, you want to see at least 8 expected field goal attempts to get 8 points, generally. Or in this number 2, field goals plus free throws, we have him taking about 7.5 total shots, including his free throws. So like 5 shots and 2 free throws, right? That doesn't even get you he'd have to shoot like 60% today to clear his line. Maybe a little higher, which is scary. So that's something I always look for too if I'm really unsure on a guy is he at least expected to clear his points line based on his shot attempts, which in this case he's not. He's even with it. So that would lean me sort of against taking that type of a play. Jarrett Allen, 12.5 points, 13.97. Once again, really close to that number. Something you could possibly take on the over. But once again, 10 shots, 12.5 points. I know he's down low. His field goal percentage is going to be a little bit higher than most other players because he's a center and he's operating around the rim, but that's tough. That is tough. It's tight. Jalen Tyson, 10.5 points, 12.23. Okay, so this is one that's getting a little bit closer, but this does sketch me out a little bit given the fact that a lot of their team is back right now, at least at this point before the injury reports come out later. So monitor those injury reports. But, with DeAndre Hunter and Darius Garland, Mobley, Jarrett Allen, they're healthy. All these guys are in. So is Jalen Tyson going to get the volume tonight? I don't love that. Yusuf Nurkic, 12.5 points. Now, this is one I like. I do like this one. His matchup isn't that great. It's 11. Yeah, so it's pretty average. He's been cooking, though. Yusuf Nurkic for over 12.5 points at plus money. I don't mind it at plus money. If you get him at 11.5, that would be pretty sweet. Now, he's at 11.5 on BetMGM. I do like him at the 11.5 mark on MGM. I'm going to go ahead and lock that in right now, actually, before that line moves on MGM. Before that line moves. That is a play that I think is pretty good. Yusuf Nurkic, 11.5. There we go. And this is kind of my process, man. This is how I go through every single one of these plays. And you can do this for rebounds, you can do this for 3-pointers, you can do this for assists, all of that. Keontae, 22.5 for skipping. Lowry, 26.5 for skipping. Sam Merrill, 13.5. Sam Merrill, 13.5 is another interesting play. But once again, he's got a great matchup here. Shot volume's a little low. 13.5 points on 10 shots, 10 attempts total. It's rough. He needs to make these threes. So this is something maybe you look at Sam Merrill for threes. I mean, look at these numbers of 5, 6, 5, 5. He's been cooking from 3. Absolutely cooking. Last 5 games, he's averaging 5 threes a game. So Sam Merrill over 13.5 points. Not bad. It's not bad. I mean, But once again, I think you might be better off looking at Sam Merrill for threes because he's one of those guys, and this is something you just have to know. This is something you just have to know about the game if you really want to get deep into it. Is that Sam Merrill, and this tells you it right here, 71% of his shots are a three-pointer. 71%. So if you're looking at taking a guy like this on points, you might as well want to look at taking him for three-pointers instead because all of his shots are going to be threes. So if he's going to get to his point total, he has to get to his three-point total. And the other side of it is he could clear his three-point total but miss his points total, right? If his three-point total is 2.5, he could make 3 threes, score 9 points, and go under on points but over on his threes. So a guy like this where you see, and you click on his name and you see he shoots like 70% or above from 3, even like 60% above from 3, I would look at his threes instead of his points because that's where he's going to be doing most of his work. You might as well just take him for that number if you like the play. It's going to be more efficient. And you're going to have a better chance to cash that than you would even if it was 4 threes, right? Like, that's 12 points. Still under his 13.5 total. So, and his line currently as well on MGM is 12.5. So, you could get it there. That's the first game. Game 2, if we go Pacers Celtics here, Neesmith 16.5. 14. So yeah, that's an under probably. That's a good potential under. Nemhard sitting at 18.5. It's too high. Potentially under as well. Anthony at 16. Potentially an under. A lot of these guys are potentially unders. 24.5 for Derek White. Way too high. Potentially an under, honestly. Probably an under. That's actually not a bad under. 24.5 points is way too high in my opinion. But without Jaylen Brown, I mean, makes things a little bit different. J Huff 8.5. Nothing there. Furphy 6.5. Nothing there. Garza 9.5. Garza 9.5 is a little bit interesting. 24th ranked versus position. He's been doing pretty well. Look at these numbers: 11, 8, 11, 6, 11. So once again, no problem. 9.5 points on 8 shots. He's got to be very efficient. But he's a big man. He plays down low, so he could be more efficient. That's one you could look into taking. Nemias Keita 11.5, nothing there. Siakam 25.5, not touching. Pritchard 22.5, not touching. And Hauser 10.5, not touching. So not a whole lot in this second game. Not a whole lot that jumps out in this second game. Couple plays you could consider though. Raptors Sixers. This is another one. Let me guess. Embiid's probably questionable. Questionable with a knee. I wouldn't lock anything in here. I really wouldn't lock anything in here for the Sixers until we know about Embiid entirely. You could really get hurt if he ends up in or out on both sides. So just would be cautious on those types of big name players with injuries being questionable. But this tool, once again, it does tell you. So if you want to look right here, questionable injury designation, it'll tell you if they're questionable or not, or out. Well, if they're out, they won't populate. But yeah. Ingram 20.5. That's a too high of a line that I have no interest in even looking at. Murray Boyles, 8.5 points. 10.69, not bad. Barlow, 7.5. Well, he's not even populating, too. He doesn't make the list. Not enough minutes. Quickly. Too high of a line. Wouldn't touch that. 18.5. Embiid, 25.5, too high. Paul George, 14.5. Where's Paul George? Okay, I got to fix this. I'm going to look into this game. I think something's happening with the injury report where it's not pulling in some of the guys. Like, BI's not pulling in, and neither is Paul George. So I'll fix that in like 5 minutes. 5 minutes after I end the stream. Grimes, 10.5, not there. RJ Barrett, 19.5. And that doesn't affect these projections, by the way. They're just not pulling in here. They exist. Grimes, 10.5. RJ Barrett, 19.5. Sandro, 8.5. Sandro actually could be a good one for 8.5. I don't mind that. I really don't mind Sandro. He's been cooking. Look at this. He did have 0 on the 11th. Maybe he didn't play here. Actually, we can tell. Let's go look at the minutes. Another thing I like to look at is minutes. So he did play 18 minutes and put up 0 points. So not a great sign, but you can look at their minutes played to get a good overview of, how they're trending in terms of their role on the team. If a guy's dropping like a fly, like he's going like 30, 30, 30, 10, 10, something like that, then you don't want to touch him. So always look at the minutes if you can, if you're unsure about a player. But yeah, Sandro's not a bad play here at 8.5 points. I think that's a low enough total that you can get away with it. I really do. At least it's worth a flyer. Definitely worth a flyer. Scotty, VJ, Tyrese, nothing there. Nets, this one's tough. I think there's a lot. I don't even think, I think a lot of these lines are down right now. They are. So there's some key injury news in this game, I guess, or something that's happening in this game where like a lot of lines are just missing. Like, look, FanDuel right here. FanDuel has nothing for the Nets. No Cam Thomas, no Danny Wolf, no Daron Sharp, no Igor Demin, no Michael Porter, no Najee. Michael Porter does exist. No Noah Clowney, no Nemhard, no Terrence Mann. So I don't know what's going on with the Nets right now, but their lines are not up for a lot of these key players. So Daron Sharp over 7.5 points, though. I do like this line right here. Let's look at his minutes real quick. 14, 17, 5, 6, 8. Okay, so interesting trend there. Minutes played, so they are dropping. He did really well when he was playing around that 30-minute mark. Now he's dropped down to 20. So this is a prime example of a play where I'm saying guys' minutes drop off, and you notice his production dropped off. So in these games where he's putting up about 30 minutes, he's putting up 10 plus, 12 plus points. His last few games, he's only had around 6 to 8 points, and he's putting up 10 minutes less a game, which is a lot. So his 7.5 line, let's see what his shot volume looks like. We have him tonight playing minutes per game, expected minutes, right here, 20. So we do have him playing 20 minutes. So we're pretty spot on with what he's been playing recently. We've been playing 20.63 minutes tonight. You can see it right here, expected minutes played. But he has a great matchup. No Anthony Davis either. So I think Daron Sharp over 7.5 points is definitely worth a flyer. I think it's worth it. I do think it's worth it. And I'm going to take that. I think it's worth it. Igor over 10.5 is not quite enough. Let's see. Gafford. Gafford might be an under, honestly. But I don't think he's had enough time in this role without Anthony Davis to determine that I would probably stay away. Clay 12.5. Clay 12.5 is okay. Okay. Christie 13.5. I do like Max Christie over 13.5 points. Now that's a play I like. I do like this one. Let's look at his numbers here. 14. Yeah, so he has enough shots to get there. The volume is enough. He's been doing pretty well, up and down. Minutes are great. I like Max Christie. I do like that 13.5 number. I think I'm gonna ride with that too. His matchup isn't ideal, but it's not bad. As you see right here, his matchup rank for points, 12th. So it's not. It's a top half matchup in terms of difficulty, but it's not red. It's not top 10. So I think he can get away with it. Let's go to game 5 here. We got to wait a lot on injuries in that last one still. Lakers, Kings, Ayton, 12.97 is 14.5. Yeah, I don't love anything on that. DeMar's too high. Cardwell is not going to get enough minutes. I'm not going to touch that. Gabe Vincent, probably not enough minutes either. 3.5. Yeah, not worth it. Jake LaRavia, 10.5 points. That's not a bad play. LaRavia, 10.5. I don't mind that. Well, let's look at his minutes and see if he's trending in the right direction here for us. Yeah, 30 minutes a game. He's getting a lot of minutes. His threes are insane. That's what he does. 3, 4, 0, 4, 3. A lot of threes. Points, 21, 26, 5, 16, 13. And his line right now is 10.5 points. I don't mind it. I really don't mind the LaRavia 10.5 line. He's got a green matchup too, so that's another one that I do like. I do like this LaRavia 10.5 line. Vanderbilt not going to touch, too low. Hayes 5.5. Hayes 5.5. Now that's another one that's got me interested. This is a premier matchup for Jackson Hayes. I'm going to take this one too. That 30th matchup is the worst defensive team versus the center for points. Pick and roll alley oops with Luka could get him there pretty easily. Shot volume's not great, but his field goal percentage is going to be high. He's just basically only going to dunk it like this. Like he's just going to dunk it. That's it. 100%. He's got 100% 3-point percentage this year. He must have shot only one and made it. Got him playing 18 minutes, so he's not going to be on the court a ton. But I think at 5.5, you can get away with that line. It's not bad. LeBron, Luka, not going to touch. Malik Monk, 12.5. That's an under, in my opinion. Malik Monk under 12.5 is not bad. Marcus Smart, 9.5. Nah. Actually, let me look at Malik Monk here real quick. Matchup is good. He's got a good points matchup, so that's not great. 15 in his last game. Minutes, 19, 26. So his minutes are going up a little bit, and this is just, the problem is he sat out these 3 games here. 0 minutes. I don't really know what his minute, he had no minutes, then a big minute spike, right? So, like, it's a little bit unclear if he's going to play. Is he going to play 30-plus minutes tonight? I might stay away from Malik Monk just because of the uncertainty. Like, is he trending up in minutes where now he's suddenly going to play a ton? I don't know. So that scares me, actually. That does scare me. His production is not certain enough. Reynaud, 10.84 for Reynaud. That might be a decent under, but it's not quite enough. 2 points. Nick Clifford, not there either. And then Precious, I'm not touching that. Rui, 7.5, and Russ, 15. So Russ, 15.5. That's actually probably a pretty good play. Russell Westbrook at 15.5 points. Yeah, he's got the 30th ranked for his position too. I don't mind Russ at 15.5, even though his last 3 he hasn't gotten there. Look at his minutes. Minutes are steady. Let's look at his shot volume, because Russ is not a high shooting. Yeah, so 17. Yeah, plenty of volume to get there for Russ. I wouldn't blame people if they were interested in taking Russ at just 15 points, getting rid of that half point. Let's see what that even looks like real quick. Let's see what that looks like. 15 points for Russ is minus 140. Yeah, I think it's better to take Russ at 15 plus. Just get rid of that hook. But you could do the 15.5. I really don't mind it. He's got enough shot volume to get there, and he's got a good matchup. So, but that's pretty much the highest I'll go for a point total for the most part. For an over, is around that 15.5 point mark. I don't really like going higher than that. Zach LaVine, 20.5. Nothing there. All right, in the last game, Hornets Clippers. Brandon Miller, not going to touch. Brook Lopez at 5.5 points. Doesn't get enough minutes. Not going to touch Brook Lopez. Not interested. 7.09, it's okay, but I'm not really interested. Sexton, 12.5. Nothing there. Zubac, 15.5. Nothing really there. Maybe an under, but yeah, it could potentially be an under for Zubac. It is 2 points away. You could look at going the under for Zubac. Harden, too high at 24.5. Collins, 15.5. Oof. Nothing there. Kawhi's too high at 26. Con, 17.5 is also a little too high. Potentially an under there even. Chris Dunn, 8.5. Nothing. LaMelo, 18.5. Nothing. Miles, 18.5. Nothing. Nah, I wouldn't touch that. His minutes have been funky lately with injuries. Batum, 4.5. Nothing. And Kalkbrenner, nothing. So nothing really in this last game either. Nothing. But that's the process that I go through for all these games. If you want, you can go do that same process for assists, rebounds, 3-pointers, RA, PA, PR, PRA, any of the stat categories. You can do the same process. And you'll get much quicker at it because you'll start to know what these guys' lines are going to be around. So you can just pull in this game. You're going to be like, okay, I know Khan's probably around like 16, 17 points. You know LaMelo's probably around that 18 mark. Harden's going to be around 23, 24 every time. Kawhi's going to be around 25 plus every time. So you can quickly kind of look at these and see like, okay, do I even need to investigate further, or is this probably on par? You'll get really good at knowing that line because most of these guys' lines are the same every game. They're a couple points different unless there's like huge injury news. But yeah, that's the RudeBets NBA model. I hope this video helped you guys out. Once again, there's always the over projection, so you can sort by assists, points, PRA, rebounds. You can like sort these tables however you want. You can extend them out and look, just if you really wanted to say, okay, I want to look at points, but I want to use the highest point scorers of the day. Once again, I don't take these types of guys, but if you wanted to, you could sort it this way and look at it from that perspective. Or if you just want to search like a certain player, you could be like, okay, I want to see like Scotty Barnes, whatever. Boom, you can just type his name in, quickly get it if you have your app up and you just want to see his projections, and then you can click on his name from there too. And then the last thing is just the matchups tab. You can sort the matchups by who has like the best matchup, right? So like the best assist matchup today is Mobley. The best points matchup today is DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes, who we already like Jackson Hayes. They allowed 1.24 times the amount of points per game to his position than league average. Rebounds, 3-pointers, all that stuff. Or you can sort it the other way. Say who has the hardest matchup. For assists, it's Russ. For points, it's Nembhard, right? So you can look at these and see who has the hardest matchup, just based on how you sort it. And if you don't know what the matchup factor means, you can read this and get a quick breakdown on what the number here, the 1.13 or whatever, actually means. Yeah, come join RudeBets. WAP.com/RudeBets for 25% off if you use code RUDE, or 25 off. Either code works. 25OFF. Both of those codes work. And then also, if you guys haven't signed up for Kalshi yet, go ahead and sign up for Kalshi. It's at the bottom of the screen. Code RUDE will get you a free $40 if you've never used Kalshi and you deposit. So go sign up for Kalshi and get a free $40. It's free. So if you use code RUDE at sign up, RUDE. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you drop a like and a subscription, and we'll be back with more NBA breakdowns. Peace out.